The crystalline dome of the council chamber sparkled under the light of three artificial suns, casting prismatic reflections across the vast circular hall. 500 delegates from across the galaxy sat in concentric rings, their varied anatomies accommodated by seats designed for tentacles, wings, exoskeletons, and the comparatively simple bipedal form of humans. The Dome of Suspension, as it was officially known, had hosted the Interstellar Council for millennia, maintaining galactic order long before humanity's arrival. Admiral Elena Cruz adjusted her midnight blue uniform with gold trim, the emblem of Earth's first fleet gleaming on her chest. Her olive skin and sharp features remained composed, but her dark eyes betrayed a growing unease. 50 years ago, humanity had joined this council with grand promises of equality and cooperation. Today, on what should have been a celebration of that anniversary, Elena sensed something amiss in the chamber's political undercurrents. "The delegates seem unusually focused today," whispered Dr. Marcus Lee, leaning slightly toward Elena. As head of Earth's scientific diplomatic corps, his analytical mind was always parsing patterns. His slender frame and thoughtful expression belied the fierce intelligence that had made him humanity's foremost xenobiologist. "Too focused," Elena replied, nodding subtly toward the Zeradian delegation. The bipedal reptilians with their iridescent scales had been engaging in intense, whispered conversations with the Vortex Elders and Quantum Syndicate representatives. "They've been planning something." The year 2375 marked half a century since humanity's admission to the Council. Earth had expanded cautiously but steadily, establishing colonies on 17 worlds, building trade networks, and contributing scientific breakthroughs that benefited numerous species. Elena had expected commemorative speeches, perhaps renewed partnership agreements. Instead, the chamber hummed with an unfamiliar tension. Chancellor Vorton, the gray-skinned, six-eyed administrator who had led the council for the past 40 years, rose from his elevated podium. His voice, enhanced by translator fields, resonated through the chamber. "Esteemed delegates of the Thousand Worlds, we gather today to address concerns regarding the balance of power within our galactic community." His upper eyes narrowed slightly. Recent expansion trends have prompted the Executive Committee to propose Resolution 7291, titled Member Authority Constraints, which has been unanimously approved by the Founding Species Council. Elena felt her body tense. No such resolution had appeared on the official agenda. She glanced at Marcus, whose fingers were already flying across his datapad, pulling up the proposal that had mysteriously appeared in the Council's database. The resolution addresses accelerated colonial expansion and technological development rates that threaten the established order. Vortan continued. Specifically, newer member species will be limited to colonizing one new world per decade, and must reduce research funding by 30% to ensure technological parity. A hollow silence fell over the chamber. Though Vortan had not specifically named humanity, everyone present understood the target. Earth's colonies had expanded by 3 worlds in the past decade alone, and human research output had doubled in the same period. "This is outrageous," Elena whispered, her knuckles whitening as she gripped the edge of her console. "They're crippling us without cause." Dr. Lee's face had paled as he scanned the full text of the resolution. "It's worse than that," he murmured. "The fine print excludes the Zeradian expansion in the Orion Spur from these restrictions due to their historical presence in the region." Elena felt a cold anger crystallize in her chest. The Orion Spur contained 3 star systems that human exploratory missions had identified for potential colonization. Systems that the Zeradians had shown no interest in until humanity's survey data became public. "The resolution has been filed and approved by the Founding Committee," Chancellor Vortan announced with finality. "Implementation begins immediately. The Earth delegation may now respond." Elena rose to her feet, feeling the eyes of 500 alien delegates upon her. 20 years of diplomatic service had taught her the value of measured responses and careful negotiation. But this was no negotiation. It was an ambush cloaked in procedure. The Earth delegation rejects this resolution as both procedurally improper and substantively unjust, she declared, her voice carrying across the chamber without technological amplification. No notice was provided. No debate was permitted. And the substance of the resolution transparently targets humanity, while granting exceptions to the Zeradians, who have been systematically encroaching on independent systems within humanity's exploratory sphere. A murmur rippled through the assembly. Elena nodded to Dr. Lee, who projected a series of images onto the chamber's central display. The images showed Zeradian mining operations on Kepler 438b, a world that had been designated as a protected biosphere under Council regulations. While the Council has been drafting secret resolutions to constrain Earth's growth, the Zeradians have violated 16 separate environmental protection treaties, Elena continued. Our satellites documented these operations 3 months ago, yet our formal complaints have gone unanswered. Ambassador Cian Kor of the Zeradian hegemony rose, his scaled neck flaring with iridescent colors that signaled aggression in his species. These accusations are a diversion from humanity's unchecked ambition. Your kind has expanded more rapidly than any species in Council history. Your technological development threatens the careful balance we have maintained for millennia. Balance. Elena's laugh was sharp and humorless. Is that what you call special exemptions for established powers, while newer members are constrained? The Council promised equality when Earth joined 50 years ago. Today proves those promises hollow. On Earth, the proceedings were being broadcast to billions. In New Beijing, Sydney, Lagos, and New Chicago, crowds gathered in public squares, watching massive displays with mounting anger. Protests spontaneously formed outside government buildings, with citizens demanding action against what they perceived as a galactic conspiracy against human interests. Governor Takahashi of the United Earth Government held an emergency session where representatives from all continents debated their response. The resolution had blindsided Earth's political leadership as completely as it had the delegation at the Council. We cannot accept these terms, declared the African continental representative. Our Mars terraforming project alone would exceed the research budget restrictions. The colonization limits would force us to abandon the Tau Ceti expedition, added the oceanic representative. 5 years of preparation and trillions in investment would be lost. As the Earth government debated, Elena and Dr. Lee retreated to the relative privacy of the Earth delegation's chambers within the Council station. The room, designed to approximate Earth conditions, felt suddenly alien and confining. They've been planning this for months, possibly years, Marcus said, reviewing diplomatic communications on his datapad. The Arkan delegation hinted at balance measures in their correspondence last quarter, but I interpreted it as routine political posturing. Elena paced the room, her mind racing through options and scenarios. This isn't just about expansion rates or research budgets. The Zeradians want our survey data and the resource-rich systems we've identified. The Council is using us as an example to maintain their hierarchy. The question is how we respond, Marcus replied. Diplomatic protests will be ignored. Economic sanctions against us would hurt, but against the entire Council bloc would be devastating. Elena stopped pacing and turned to face the viewport that looked out onto the vast Council station and the starfield beyond. What if we don't respond within their framework at all? Meaning? Meaning, we take our pieces off the board entirely. Elena's eyes reflected the distant stars. First Fleet has been consolidated in the Red Solar System for the anniversary ceremonies. If we withdraw from Council space completely, you're suggesting abandoning 50 years of interstellar diplomacy? Marcus's eyes widened. The political fallout would be immense. So is the fallout from accepting these terms, Elena countered. And I'm not suggesting abandonment. I'm suggesting leveraging our position. The Council relies on human innovation, human resources, human markets. If we withdraw, even temporarily— Marcus nodded slowly, understanding dawning on his face. They'd have to reconsider. But the logistics of withdrawing our entire presence from Council space— Already being arranged, Elena said, activating her secure communicator. I've ordered Commander Park to prepare the new light exploratory team. They've been testing the experimental cloak drive technology in the Epsilon Eridani system. The cloak drive, Marcus looked alarmed. That's still experimental, and the Council doesn't know we have it. Which makes it perfect for our purposes, Elena replied. The Archons provided the theoretical framework as part of our private technology exchange. If it works as designed, it could create a spatial fold that would effectively hide our fleet, and potentially whole systems, from standard detection methods. Back in the Council chamber, Chancellor Vortan had moved on to other agenda items, treating the human situation as resolved. The Earth delegation's absence was noted, but not addressed. A minor diplomatic protest expected to fade once the humans accepted the inevitable. Meanwhile, in orbit around Mars, a tense standoff was developing. A Zeradian battle group of 5 ships had entered the system, claiming routine patrol rights under Council defense protocols. The Mars Colonial Authority, alarmed by this unprecedented incursion, had activated planetary defense systems and requested immediate support from Earth. The First Fleet, comprising 37 warships and support vessels, maintained formation in the Red Solar System, a neutral zone 3 light-years from Earth. Admiral Cruz's orders were transmitted through quantum-encrypted channels. Prepare for immediate withdrawal from all Council-affiliated systems and rendezvous at coordinates that didn't appear in any official star chart. On the exploratory vessel Horizon, Ensign Hannah Park received orders directly from Admiral Cruz. The Korean-born officer had been handpicked to lead the New Light exploratory mission, testing the boundaries of known space with experimental technology. Now, her mission had suddenly become the spearhead of humanity's most daring political maneuver. Cloak drive preparations at 80%. Ma'am, reported her navigation officer. The spatial calculations are complex. We've never attempted to cloak a volume of space this large. Understood, Park replied, her calm demeanor masking the gravity of their task. Maintain course for the rendezvous point. The First Fleet will begin withdrawal in 12 hours, and we need to be ready. As tensions escalated throughout human-controlled space, Earth citizens rallied around a unified sentiment. The Council's betrayal would not stand. What had begun as scattered protests evolved into organized demonstrations of solidarity. The phrase, "Humanity First," appeared on banners and digital displays across the planet and its colonies. In the private chambers of the Arcan delegation, Ambassador Kamla floated in her specialized water environment, her tentacles moving in patterns that indicated concern. Through the transparent barrier that separated her aquatic needs from the standard atmosphere, she communicated with Dr. Lee. The Council overreached, her translator conveyed. Many delegations were unaware of the resolution until it was announced. The founding species pushed it through without proper consultation. Yet no one objected, Marcus noted, keeping his voice low despite the privacy field surrounding them. Objection would be politically unwise. Kamla's chromatophores shifted to a pattern indicating caution. But assistance might be offered through unofficial channels. What kind of assistance? Technical refinements to your cloak drive parameters. A data crystal materialized from one of her specialized manipulator tentacles. The theoretical framework we provided was intentionally incomplete. These modifications will increase efficiency by 60% and extend the cloaking field's stability. Marcus accepted the crystal with a slight bow. Why help us now? Kamla's skin rippled in what Marcus had learned was her species' equivalent of a sardonic smile. Balance, Dr. Lee. True balance. not the farce proclaimed by Vortan. The Council needs to be reminded that newer voices have power too. Humanity's dramatic exit might provide that reminder. 3 days after the resolution's passage, Chancellor Vortan called an emergency session of the Council. The Zeradian incursion into Mars orbit had escalated, with reports of weapon systems being activated in defensive posture. Earth had formally protested this act of aggression, but the Council's response had been tepid at best. Admiral Cruz, returning to the Council chamber for the first time since the resolution, stood alone at the human delegation's position. Dr. Lee and the other human representatives remained aboard their ships, prepared for what would come. "The Council recognizes Admiral Cruz of Earth," Vortan announced, his tone suggesting he expected a concession. "I come not to negotiate, but to inform," Elena stated, her voice steady and clear. In response to the Council's punitive resolution and the Zeradian aggression against Mars, humanity formally withdraws from the Interstellar Council, effective immediately. A shockwave of murmurs and exclamations rippled through the chamber. Vortan's 6 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of extreme surprise in his species. "Such withdrawal is unprecedented," he sputtered. "The procedures for separation require a transition period of at least 5 standard years, during which—" "We are not following your procedures, Chancellor," Elena interrupted. "Just as you did not follow procedures when imposing restrictions on Earth. The First Fleet has already begun withdrawing from Council space. The Zeradian forces near Mars have 1 standard day to retreat, or they will be considered hostile forces in sovereign human territory." Ambassador Cian Kor rose from his seat, scales flaring. "This is an outrageous violation of Council authority. Military consequences will—" "Will what, Ambassador?" Elena turned her gaze directly to the Zeradian. "Trigger an interstellar war, one that would disrupt trade routes and destabilize economies across the galaxy. Is that the outcome the Council desires?" "Admiral Cruz," Vortan's voice had taken on a placating tone. "Surely we can discuss this matter reasonably. Perhaps certain exemptions could be considered." "The time for discussion was before your secret resolution," Elena replied. "Now, you will witness the consequences of your actions." She activated a holographic display that showed the positions of human ships throughout Council space. One by one, the indicators began to vanish as vessels jumped to hyperspace, withdrawing from their stations, trade routes, and diplomatic posts. "Humanity is leaving the table you set against us," Elena announced. "We will forge our own path among the stars, without the constraints of a council that betrayed its principles of equality and fair governance." With perfect timing, a message reached her secure communicator. The new light team had successfully activated the cloak drive. The spatial fold was stable and expanding. "I would suggest you watch carefully," Elena said, gesturing toward the main view screen that showed the First Fleet in formation near the Council station. "You may find this educational." Before the assembled delegates, the human fleet began to shimmer, their outlines becoming indistinct. A ripple seemed to pass through space itself, and then, impossibly, the ships began to fade from view. Sensor readings fluctuated wildly, then flatlined. 37 warships, carrying over 40,000 personnel, had vanished from detection completely. The Council chamber erupted in chaos. Species with varying temperaments and physiologies expressed shock, outrage, or fascination according to their natures. Chancellor Vortan called repeatedly for order, his amplified voice barely audible above the din. "What technology is this?" demanded the Quantum Syndicate representative, their cybernetic implants flashing with agitation. "No species has developed functional cloaking technology of this magnitude." Elena allowed herself a small smile. "Consider it humanity's parting gift to the Council, a demonstration of what your resolution sought to prevent. Our innovation, unconstrained." As the pandemonium continued, she walked calmly from the chamber, her mission complete. The human delegation's quarters had already been evacuated. personal belongings, and sensitive data secured aboard ships, now hidden from the Council's detection. Aboard the flagship Determination, Elena joined Dr. Lee on the bridge. Through specialized sensors tied to the cloak drive network, they could observe the Council station while remaining undetectable. "The spatial fold is stable," reported the science officer. "All fleet vessels are accounted for within the cloaked space. We're effectively in a pocket dimension adjacent to normal space." "And the expanded fold?" Elena asked. "Coordinates received from the new light team. The rendezvous point is a star system 20 light-years from Council space, unmapped in official records. They've established a spatial fold there as well, large enough to accommodate the fleet and potentially more." Marcus studied the data with amazement. The Arkan modifications worked better than expected. We could potentially cloak entire planets with this technology. "One step at a time, Doctor," Elena cautioned. "For now, our priority is consolidation and security. The Council will be searching for us with everything they have." On Earth, the moment of humanity's dramatic exit was broadcast globally. The image of the fleet shimmering into invisibility became an instant icon of defiance. The Freedom Hour, as it was quickly dubbed, saw celebrations in cities worldwide. Light sculptures bloomed in the skies over every major metropolitan area, symbolizing humanity's new path among the stars. Governor Takahashi addressed the unified Earth government, her measured tones a counterpoint to the jubilation outside. "Today marks a turning point in human history. While we have withdrawn from the Interstellar Council, we have not withdrawn from the galactic community. We will establish new partnerships, new trade agreements, and new diplomatic channels, based on genuine equality and mutual respect." The Zeradian fleet near Mars, suddenly facing the uncertainty of humanity's capabilities and location, withdrew to Council space within hours. Strategic analysts suspected they feared becoming stranded if human forces returned with their new cloaking technology and disrupted hyperspace lanes. In the Council chamber, the emergency session had devolved into factional arguments. The founding species blamed each other for pushing the resolution too aggressively. Newer members questioned whether they might face similar treatment in the future. Economic advisors presented alarming projections of market disruptions caused by humanity's abrupt withdrawal. 3 major trade routes relied on human security forces, the Commerce Minister reported. 16 exchange markets used human banking protocols. 22 medical facilities depended on human biotechnology innovations. The cascading effects will be severe and widespread. Chancellor Vorton, facing the greatest crisis of his administration, struggled to maintain authority. "We must present a unified response. The humans cannot simply disappear from galactic affairs." "Yet they have done exactly that," observed Ambassador Kamla of the Arkans, her translated voice carrying a hint of what might have been amusement. "Perhaps the Council should consider why a species would choose to abandon 50 years of integration rather than accept your resolution." In the hidden system that the new light team had designated Sanctuary, humanity's forces gathered and regrouped. The spatial fold had been expanded to encompass the entire star system, rendering it undetectable to conventional sensors. Within this pocket of cloaked space, the First Fleet established a temporary headquarters on the system's second planet, a terrestrial world with Earth-like characteristics. Admiral Cruz convened a strategic planning session with her senior officers and Dr. Lee. The meeting took place in a hastily constructed facility on Sanctuary's surface, with view screens showing the fleet in orbit and the progress of scanning operations throughout the system. "The cloak drive gives us an unprecedented strategic advantage," Elena began. "But it's not a long-term solution. Eventually, we need to either reconcile with the Council on better terms or establish a completely independent human presence in the galaxy." "The Council is already feeling the effects of our withdrawal," Dr. Lee reported, reviewing data from covert observation posts that remained in Council space. "Market fluctuations have triggered economic warnings in 12 sectors. Security concerns have increased with our patrols gone. And scientifically, several collaborative projects have stalled without human researchers. Good, said Admiral Cruz. Let them experience life without us. Meanwhile, we have work to do. Commander Park, report on your exploration findings. Hannah Park, recently promoted to commander for her successful leadership of the New Light mission, activated a holographic display of the surrounding sector. Sanctuary is just one of 7 star systems within this spatial anomaly. The region appears to be separated from surrounding space by a naturally occurring quantum barrier, which is why it never appeared on conventional star charts. The cloak drive technology interacts with this barrier, enhancing its concealment properties. 7 habitable systems, completely hidden from the Council, Elena mused. A perfect foundation for humanity's independent future. What are the colonization prospects? Extremely promising, Park replied. 3 worlds are immediately habitable without terraforming. Resource surveys indicate abundant minerals, including rare earth elements. And most significantly, we've detected ruins of an advanced civilization on the 4th planet of the Sanctuary system. This revelation sent a ripple of excitement through the gathering. Dr. Lee leaned forward, his scientific curiosity piqued. What kind of ruins? How old? Preliminary dating suggests approximately 50,000 years, Park said. And they're extensive. A global network of structures that appear to have been designed as a planetary defense system. Our xenoarchaeologists believe this region may have been deliberately hidden by its former inhabitants, which raises the question of what they were hiding from. Elena noted, Commander Park, I want those ruins studied thoroughly, but with extreme caution. Dr. Lee, assemble your best research team. If there's technology we can adapt, or knowledge we can use, I want to know about it. As the meeting continued, Elena felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. The fate of humanity's future in the stars now rested largely on her decisions. The bold move to abandon the council table had worked in the short term, but the long-term consequences remained uncertain. Later that evening, she stood alone on a viewing platform overlooking Sanctuary's pristine landscape. The planet's twin moons cast a silvery light over forests and plains that no human had seen before the New Light team's arrival. The beauty of this undiscovered world reminded her of why humanity had reached for the stars in the first place. Dr. Lee joined her, offering a cup of synthesized coffee, a small comfort from Earth that the fleet had in good supply. Quite a view, he observed. Worth the risk? Elena asked, accepting the coffee. Ask me in a year, he replied with a slight smile. But, for what it's worth, I believe you made the right call. The Council needed to learn that humanity won't be constrained by their outdated power structures. We've bought time and leverage, Elena said. But we're still a relatively young species in galactic terms. The Council has resources and connections built over thousands of years. And we have innovation, adaptability, and now this. Marcus gestured to the hidden world around them. 7 star systems, completely off their charts. A technology they didn't know we possessed, and most importantly, a unity of purpose that the Council lacks. Elena nodded, taking a sip of coffee. We'll need to establish contact with independent worlds and species outside the Council's influence. Build our own network of allies. Already in progress, Marcus assured her. I've identified 23 non-aligned worlds that have had positive trade relations with Earth. Many of them have their own grievances against the Council. And Earth itself, what's the latest? Governor Takahashi has consolidated support across all continental governments. The Martian defense grid has been strengthened in case the Zeradians return, and public opinion is overwhelmingly in favor of our independent stance. Your speech has become something of a rallying cry. Elena smiled ruefully. I wasn't planning to make history when I walked into that chamber. Few people do, Marcus replied. But when the moment comes, what matters is whether you rise to meet it. You did. 3 months after humanity's dramatic exit, the political landscape of the galaxy had shifted significantly. The Council, unable to fill the void left by human withdrawal, had been forced to acknowledge the impact of their punitive resolution. Trade disruptions had cascaded through multiple sectors, and security concerns had increased with the removal of human patrols from key routes. Chancellor Vorton, facing mounting criticism, had extended a diplomatic overture, offering to revisit the resolution's terms if humanity would return to the Council table. The message, transmitted on all frequencies, had gone unanswered. Within Sanctuary and the surrounding hidden systems, now collectively called the Veiled Confederation by human settlers, development had proceeded at a remarkable pace. The ruins discovered by Commander Park's team had yielded technological insights that accelerated humanity's understanding of spatial manipulation and quantum physics. The cloak drive had been refined to require less energy while extending its coverage. Admiral Cruz, now serving as interim governor of the Veiled Confederation, had established diplomatic and trade relations with 15 independent worlds. These new allies, many of whom had chafed under Council restrictions themselves, provided resources and intelligence that strengthened humanity's position. On Earth, factories that had once produced goods for Council markets redirected their output to these new trading partners. The initial economic shock of withdrawal had given way to a boom as human industries adapted to serve eager markets outside Council space. In a secure communication facility on Sanctuary, Elena reviewed the latest intelligence reports with her senior staff. The holographic displays showed movements of Council ships, trade figures, and political developments across known space. The Zeradians have increased their military presence along their border with Arcan territory, reported her intelligence chief. Our sources suggest they suspect Arcan involvement in our cloaking technology. The Arcans can handle themselves, Elena replied. Ambassador Kamlaw's people have been playing Council politics for millennia. What about the resolution status? Officially unchanged, Dr. Lee said. But, practically speaking, unenforceable. Without knowing where we are or how to detect our movements, they can't exactly impose colonization limits. And the Council's internal politics? Fracturing along predictable lines, Lee continued. The newer members are questioning the founding species authority more openly. 3 delegations have cited our withdrawal as precedent for challenging restrictive policies affecting their own development. Elena nodded, satisfied with this development. So we've already achieved one objective, forcing the Council to reconsider its hierarchical structure. There's more, Commander Park added, her expression serious. Our analysis of the ancient ruins has yielded something unexpected. She activated a separate display, showing what appeared to be a star map. This was encoded in the defense system's central matrix. It shows a region of space beyond the galactic rim, with what we believe are transport coordinates. Transport to where? Elena asked. Unknown, Park admitted. But the encryption patterns match records of a species mentioned in Council historical archives, the precursors, who supposedly vanished 50,000 years ago after a conflict with an extragalactic force. Dr. Lee studied the map with intense interest. The timing matches our ruins perfectly. What if this region wasn't just hidden for protection, but as a fallback position, a place to retreat to if needed? Or a warning, Elena suggested. A record of where they went, or what they were fleeing from. The implications hung in the air, adding a new dimension to humanity's situation. What had begun as a political maneuver had unexpectedly connected them to an ancient mystery. Continue the research, Elena decided, but keep this information restricted to senior staff for now. We have more immediate concerns. Those concerns materialized the following day, when sensors detected a Council exploratory vessel at the edge of the quantum barrier surrounding the Veiled Confederation. The ship appeared to be conducting specialized scans, potentially searching for weaknesses in the natural cloaking effect. Zeradian Registry, reported the tactical officer. Advanced sensor package not normally equipped on vessels of that class. They're hunting for us, Elena concluded. Specifically, for the technology that allowed us to disappear. Options? We could destroy the vessel, suggested her military advisor. The quantum barrier would prevent any signal from escaping. Elena shook her head. No. We withdrew from the table. We didn't declare war. Alternative. We could use a targeted cloak drive pulse, Commander Park offered. Disrupt their sensors without harming the ship, then push them out of range with a quantum wake. Do it, Elena ordered. And prepare a message packet. If they're looking this hard for us, it's time we controlled the narrative more directly. The operation proceeded flawlessly. The Zeradian vessel, suddenly blinded by the cloak drive pulse, was carried safely but firmly away from the quantum barrier by the resulting spatial distortion. When their systems recovered, they found themselves 20 light-years from their previous position, with no data from their sensor sweep, but with a message from Admiral Cruz. The message was simple but powerful. The galaxy watched as humanity left the council table. Know that we departed not in weakness, but in strength. We will forge new paths among the stars, and we extend an invitation to all species who seek true equality and cooperation. A new alliance is forming, one built on respect, not restriction. The future belongs to those with courage to embrace it. This message, broadcast by the Zeradian ship upon its return to Council space, spread rapidly through interstellar communications networks on dozens of worlds, both within and outside Council jurisdiction. Beings of various species debated its significance. In the Council chamber, Chancellor Vortan faced a formal inquiry into his handling of the human situation. The Zeradian delegation, embarrassed by their failed search mission, attempted to deflect blame by accusing the Archons of technology transfer, a charge Ambassador Kamla serenely denied, her tentacles arranged in patterns suggesting both innocence and amusement. The question before us, intoned the eldest of the Vortex Elders, is not simply how to respond to humanity's departure, but whether the principles upon which this council operates remain valid in a changing galaxy. 6 months after the withdrawal, Elena stood on the newly constructed observation deck of Sanctuary Station, watching as ships from 12 independent worlds arrived for the inaugural conference of what was being called the Free Systems Alliance. Each vessel represented a species or world that had chosen to align with humanity's vision rather than the Council's established order. Quite a gathering, Dr. Lee observed, joining her at the viewport. The Council must be watching with considerable concern. Let them watch, Elena replied. This isn't about opposition to the Council. It's about creating an alternative, a different model of interstellar cooperation. A model where no one species dictates terms to others, Marcus agreed. Where innovation is encouraged rather than constrained. The station itself embodied that philosophy, built with integrated technologies from 3 different species, including elements adapted from the ancient ruins. It represented a true collaboration rather than the carefully controlled sharing permitted under Council protocols. Commander Park approached, her uniform now bearing the insignia of the newly formed Alliance Defense Force. The delegates are ready, Governor. The Malar representative has requested to speak first. Apparently, their cultural protocols require them to open multi-species gatherings. Elena nodded. Accommodate them. This alliance will respect all members' traditions equally. As they walked toward the conference chamber, Dr. Lee's datapad signaled an urgent message. He scanned it quickly, his expression growing serious. The research team has made a breakthrough with the precursor coordinates. They believe they've identified not just where the ancients went, but why they left. And, Elena prompted, the data suggests they were fleeing a threat, something they called the convergence, a force capable of assimilating entire civilizations, which approaches the galaxy in cycles of approximately 50,000 years. Elena stopped walking, the implications hitting her like a physical force. Which would mean That the cycle is due to repeat, Marcus confirmed. The precursors didn't just hide this region of space as a refuge. They left us a warning. Elena drew a deep breath, processing this revelation. The political maneuvers that had seemed so important, the withdrawal from the Council, the formation of the Alliance, suddenly appeared in a new light. Perhaps humanity's independence had come at precisely the right moment, forcing innovation and adaptation that might prove crucial in the face of this ancient threat. We'll discuss this after the conference, she decided. For now, let's focus on building something worth defending. As they entered the conference chamber, representatives from a dozen worlds rose in respect. The circular arrangement of the seating, deliberately distinct from the hierarchical layout of the council chamber, emphasized the equality of all participants. At the center stood a holographic display of the Free Systems Alliance emblem, a stylized representation of diverse star systems arranged in a supportive network rather than a centralized structure. Elena took her position and surveyed the gathering. In the faces, appendages, and sensory organs of these varied beings, she saw not aliens, but partners, not subjects, but allies. The galaxy had indeed watched as humanity abandoned the council table. Now it would watch as humanity built a new one, a table where all could sit as equals. Welcome, delegates of the Free Systems, she began. Today, we take the first step toward a new future, one we will forge together, in freedom and mutual respect. The path ahead may hold challenges we cannot yet imagine, but united in our diversity, we will meet them with courage and innovation. As her words were translated into a dozen different languages, Elena felt the weight of both hope and responsibility. Humanity had left one table only to build another, potentially more important one. And if the precursor warning proved accurate, this new alliance might face a test far greater than anyone in the Council could have anticipated. The light of Sanctuary stars streamed through the chamber's transparent dome, illuminating the gathering in a golden glow that seemed to Elena both blessing and challenge. The galaxy had watched humanity's defiant exit. Now, it would witness humanity's greatest work, building bridges that might ultimately save them all. In her quarters that evening, Elena recorded a personal message to be sent to Earth. We stand at a crossroads, not just for humanity, but potentially for all sentient life in our galaxy, she stated, choosing her words carefully. The alliance we are building today may serve purposes beyond our original intent. What began as a declaration of independence may become something far more significant, a united front against a threat our ancestors never had to face. She paused, looking out at the stars visible from her viewport, stars that shone upon both Council worlds and Free Systems, upon old allies and new, upon civilizations that had existed for millennia, and those just taking their first steps into space. The table we abandoned was never truly ours, she continued. The table we now build welcomes all who share our vision of a galaxy where cooperation doesn't require submission, where diversity is strength, and where the future remains unwritten, not predetermined by ancient powers. Whatever challenges await us, we will face them standing together, not kneeling apart. As Elena completed her message, Commander Park reported that the first joint patrol of Alliance vessels had successfully completed its mission, demonstrating the interoperability of their diverse technologies and crews. Dr. Lee's team had made further progress deciphering the precursor archives, revealing defensive strategies that might prove valuable against the approaching threat. And, on a dozen worlds, beings who had never before considered alliance with humans were now discussing the possibilities offered by this new coalition. The galaxy had indeed watched as humanity abandoned the council table. But what truly mattered was what came next. The building of something new, something stronger, something equal to the challenges that lay ahead. As the stars turned in their ancient courses, humanity and its allies, prepared to write the next chapter of galactic history, together, as equals, with eyes wide open to both peril and possibility.